Hello, everybody. You have Miss TT and I in the house. Thank you for tuning into Raw Babes 101. What's the card? This is the card.
Two of Voices.
What is it?
Two of Voices. This is from the Muse Tarot deck. This is the deck that I bought, and I was like, oh, it's so beautiful. And then I pulled a few cards. I'm like, that's not me. That's not my energy.
Okay.
But what I didn't take into account is that it does take time to get to know your deck.
Mm-hmm. This is true. On many occasions. Many different, this is quite interesting.
Mm-hmm. So, Two of Voices.
This is for all y'all when this episode airs, so let's dive deep into this.
Indecision, the angst of not knowing the way, choices, feeling like you are between a rock and a hard place, silent intuition. The prompt, many faces of the wind. Two paths, two options. One is real, one is not. One leads to a future, and one will fade away as potential without form.
Holy shit.
The Two of Voices sits at the doorway, gently spinning dualities for the travelers below. She offers paths that lead in different directions so that we remember that we all have free will. Even rocks and hard places contain energy that can be moved, and sometimes it must be walked through. When choices appear equally sweet or quickly sticky, appreciate the slightest of nudges, the subtle tuggings of the strings, and trust even without predictability or foresight, the path that you will take will be the right path for you. Know that sometimes the destination is not as important as the steps taken. That progress made with love while listening to the whispers of your soul will always lead you to transformative power of the right choice. Well, doesn't this go beautifully for 2023?
100%. Of course it does. This is literally like everything that's even going on in my freaking life about paths and choices and which way to go and how do you handle this? And like, how do you even dive deep into this sort of topic to figure out, well, how do you listen to your soul? And how do you know? It's like, that's the biggest thing, is being in the unknown. It's the hardest place
and we're
to
always
be
sitting like always trying to have control over things and always trying to be in the knowing.
And like they said, it's about, when you think about the destination.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, this is where I want to go. And you're so stuck on where you want to go, you forgot to be in the here and the now in this present moment and enjoy just what we're doing right now.
Because you're wanting to be Eckhart Tolle.
I am absolutely just, I've had a rough fucking go over the last month. It's just been intense. Like the feelings, the triggers, things that I thought that I had worked through. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm back here.
Isn't that always the way? When you think you figured it out, it's like, just kidding.
And I just actually seen one of our episodes, there was a clip and you said the same thing. And it was like, I don't know, like even 5 episodes ago. And I'm like,
I remember talking about it.
To me, because it was like, it was just the future was just the heads up of, hey, there's going to be some uncomfortability. But yes, I'm totally sitting in the Audible right now of Eckhart Tolle and The Power of Now. I even went to Value Village, and that was the book that was there. And I was like, okay.
Oh, really?
Because I've been deep diving since September, since I went and did the ayahuasca retreat.
Right? Well, you little brat. I can't believe you did that. You didn't even say anything.
I know. It was
such a brat.
I just kept it. You and I were both going through such a difficult time. Things were really heavy at that time.
Yeah,
and
it was heavy.
It wasn't a time for me to be like, hey, let me just unload my baggage onto you.
I don't think of it like that,
I know, but in the moment when you're already in there, it's like, let's just try to deal with what we have going on our own, and then we'll come back.
Because sometimes it's a good distraction.
This is another...
From your own shit. Let's hear somebody else's shit so I don't feel so bad about my shit.
I know, and that's half of this huge point about the power of now and being in this present moment, because for whatever reason, if this moment isn't feeling good in your body, you want to escape it. But how about look at it and get back to the moment, because you can't be in pain, in the pain body, and enjoy at the same time. You can't. It just doesn't.
It doesn't. No, it doesn't work.
It doesn't
You're
work.
right. Because we just came from like our trip, and I was like, we went away for New Year's, whatever, and there was just a couple things that kind of like got under my skin that made it really hard to enjoy the trip like I normally would because of my own shit.
When the pain body took over.
This is it. And this kind of reminds me of like, I have lots of like I can like see into the future. You just kind of have this intuition, things are going a certain way, or your intuition is kind of going, nah,
this doesn't feel right. It
doesn't feel right.
Freaking niggle.
But sometimes a lot of the times I find myself in situations where I kind of still need to go forward with the action, or just still enter that dome of uncomfortability or that intuition that's kind of going, yeah. And then obviously it always plays out in the way that I predicted either way. But sometimes I feel like I need to take a step back and let other people go through it too, without cutting the cord and taking the experience away from everybody else. So sense. Unfortunately, sometimes I find that I have to go through these situations so that other people can too. Yeah. Otherwise, I'm taking it away from them.
Well, and it makes sense. It's like saying your child is going through bullies and all you're doing is protecting them. Yes, we want to protect them.
Right.
But there's part of the experience that they signed up for. Their theme and lesson is to experience it. So that makes a lot of sense.
Be really patient.
Yeah. So what do you do during that time? Like, how do you get through that?
Literally being in the present moment. Like, what can I take in the present moment right here, right now that can bring me joy? Mm-hmm. And where we were surrounded by snow, and I was with my kid. I love my kid. We're going to play in the fucking snow.
Yeah.
And that's what we're going to do. And
you're
going to
focus on your family time.
Yeah. And focus on the right now.
Of other people.
Yeah. Or what's next, or what's pissing me off, or whatever.
Yeah. And that's even part of this book, and part of his teachings is being in the now. Like, nothing exists. The past and the future aren't even here. What is here is now. So you're focusing and distracting yourself from being in joy of what you can do here. Because right now, there's no pain. There's no problem. Like, you're here. You're good.
I think this is a really good conversation rolling into the new year, because everybody's setting these, like, goals. And sometimes setting goals, you get so focused on that goal, you lose sight of, like, what's happening in front of you. And I think that's a big reason why I've kind of, like, been so loosey-goosey about goals. But I'm telling you, every fucking year, I'm so ready to give up the booze. Like, this time right now, done. I can't eat another bonbon. I can't have any more fucking dessert. Yeah, like my favorite thing to have was Caroline's in my coffee. I do that all day long. Like, it just, I don't know, like, I'm just done.
That's
done. And I think that's a healthy goal in the way that's, you know, still bringing me to the present moment. Because sometimes when you're coming off the booze or the substances, and I don't care what it is, coffee or alcohol, you're going to have a bit of a remnants of something lingering.
Withdrawal.
100%.
Yeah.
You get the headaches. Maybe you'll have to, I was going to say the shakes. It depends how far in you are. But how about the feelings?
Yeah.
Because you really do, like with alcohol especially, you numb those feelings. It happens really, really fast.
Yeah.
So when you're not with it anymore, and now you are with your present self, some of those emotions, it's kind of like the booze blues.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, after a day or a weekend or Vegas trip of drinking, and you coming off of that, you kind of feel shitty. Like, not just physically, but mentally.
And then that's when people will go and reach for a drink, or they start to get that stress response hormone, or that fix of, like, that escape. And it's like, I'm, done work, so I'm going to have a drink now. And then you're just basically trying to feel better. Yeah. And that's a really great indicator on maybe it's time to look at alcohol differently, because it's becoming a dependence.
Definitely.
And it's becoming an escape to feel better.
Well, it's just nice to be able to get back to a place where it's just, like, in moderation. Because when you're not in moderation anymore, I think that's where you see the cause of effects of certain things. And that one definitely can have that. But it's like anything. It's like if you're trying to wake up at 6 a.m. to go to the gym now, And you do that for, a week, and then 2 weeks, it's now second nature. It's nothing.
That's what happened with me. It wasn't even my plan. I just noticed it wasn't really aligning, and I wasn't feeling good from having alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like 2.5 years later, and it's not even, it's like
you
you
don't
said,
even
second.
miss it.
No. I look at it as poison now, and I'm not judging everybody else, but it is, because when you are purchasing something that is hindering your body and your liver and your kidneys and your, like even your brain, it's just like your cognitive function and like your frequency, it just doesn't make sense anymore to me.
Well,
and that's where I'm like,
no, it doesn't make sense, because if you go back to like the history of alcohol, okay, let's set aside, okay, fine, hold on a second, let me just back up a little bit, because there are certain things that alcohol does to the body from what I ever understood. So something I read forever ago, it's not only the calories in from the alcohol, it's what it's doing to the body while it's in the body. And it slows down so many cognitive functions within your own organs that they naturally do and produce.
And cortisol as well, actually.
Cortisol.
I just listened to this guy that was sharing all this information about all these levels in your body, and it like spikes this cortisol and the stress response and the irritability and the anger.
Yeah.
And it's like when you
that'll be coming off. Yes. Totally. So then the other part is where alcohol, like the history of it.
Yeah.
And I go back to government shit, because I'm like, half the shit that the government does with stuff like this does not make sense.
Right.
Because they took it off, they made it like totally illegal to have in your house, to even drink it, whatever. For the reasons that they did was not because of the health reasons, I'll tell you that. But anything to do with like alcohol, cigarettes, and then you get your pharmaceuticals. And I'm not saying anything against pharmaceuticals, because there's always a place for it. But why is it that these things are pushed and the more natural things are being ignored? Mm-hmm. So we've had to actually take our health in our own hands in this aspect, to actually work around what's being pushed down everybody's throat and start being unconventional. This is what we consider being unconventional, because we're not doing what everybody else is meant to do.
Right. And it's just told to do or controlled to do.
Yeah.
And, it's like when there's a liquor store on every corner, and, they're just popping up everywhere. And, we could even talk about this, even about cannabis. And it's like, it was illegal. You would go to jail if you were caught with it. It's crazy. There's so many benefits to this plant, because it's here from Mother Earth, untouched, unscathed. And then all of a sudden the government is like, well, I want to monetize and make finances and like money on it. And I think as history continues to repeat itself with alcohol, with pharmaceuticals, with all these things, what is the common denominator? Money. It's not health.
I know.
Like every side effect on your prescription, if you read it, is dizziness, nausea, depression, anxiety, like all these things that are on it. So it's funny how our conversation is going here. We weren't planning on this, but it's like, it's really time to look at these things. They're in our face. It's such a big flag that it's like, you can't turn the rose-colored glasses on. You can't be in denial of this.
I mean, our culture and things that we're surrounded by it's really easy to get sucked into this bullshit, but that's why we do what we do. Yeah. That's why we do the work that we're doing, because we're kind of peeling that onion as to why, like, we are the way we are. Mm-hmm. Like, I mean, there's obviously so many facets to that.
Another thing that just popped up into my mind is it's a conditioning to your family. So, like, if your mom and dad, I'll use my parents for an example, we were taught that it's not even being taught. I observed. And on Fridays, after work, you'd have a beer. On Friday, your friends would come over after work. It would be a fun evening. It would be a celebration. We'd have dinner. They would have drinks. So if you're brought up in that environment, it's like when you're a kid and you're in high school. You go on the weekend to go and party. If you're still continually doing that for the rest of your life, where's the evolution? And when do you look at, when is this cycle going to end? When is this cycle going to break? Because obviously I'm a cycle breaker, didn't know, but it just ended up happening even with the alcohol. Because it's like, my son will not see me sitting at any dinner partaking in any alcohol. So that chain gets cut there because it's not normal for him to even see me have a glass of wine. It's normal for me to have water and to be healthy and celery juice. So it's so cool how that evolution. So it's like when you can look from a different angle as to your conditioning and what you're used to. I was like, this is like high school. I'd go with my friends on the weekend. We'd sit around, have drinks. This is really
not much has changed.
Boring and the same old.
Yeah.
I'm like, let's evolve past that. I'm ready. Woo.
Not everybody wants to evolve.
And some people don't want to take off the glasses to feel the uncomfortable feelings that may be underlying boredom or just being on your own without substance or without the distraction the relationship.
I remember when I I didn't realize how uncomfortable I was being by myself up until like a few years ago. And I'm like, holy shit. Like, I'm really struggling here just sitting alone with my thoughts, being bored.
Yeah.
It was like, I didn't realize how much codependency traits I had at that time and moment. I know we've talked about this on the podcast before, but I think until you can get, I guess, a bit of an awareness or get a closer relationship with yourself, then you can start really peeling that onion. Because sometimes we don't want to see your shit. Sometimes we don't want to be, we want to be in denial because we don't want to face the truth in so many things. And I remember feeling like that. I remember feeling like not wanting to face my own truth, even though my own truth was not all that devastating.
No.
Like, it wasn't that bad.
No.
Like, what the fuck am I complaining about? Yeah.
It's the feeling.
And not knowing either at that time that feelings were just a short-term thing. They don't carry on.
And I love how you said that, because I'll tell you, when I was young, I used to feel these feelings come up, and then I thought that I felt them or they came up, that it would be with me forever. And I think a lot of people think that, because when they start to get in that depressed state, and I'll tell you, like, over this last month, I was going really low and feeling those depressed feelings. And of course, because I know the work that I need to do and I need to feel and work through it, but it took me right back to that like 12-year-old little girl that didn't understand or have the tools to know that these feelings need to just be felt and come up, and they will pass. And a lot of us out here carry on day in and day out, avoiding them because we don't want to feel them, and it feels uncomfortable, and then we reach for the antidepressant or whatever else that's distracting it.
Yeah.
And this is a great opportunity to know you're not alone. Fucking everybody. Our thoughts are they're not us. It's like another energy. It's like another entity that just comes in and just consumes you, because it's like the thoughts are thinking to avoid the feeling. So the thoughts go crazy, and they're going to tell you the craziest things, because it's like, you don't want to feel this. So we're going to think our way through. You can't think your way through.
Or justify it.
Yes,
or
you have to
whatever.
feel. You have to feel your way through.
You know, my trip, not to interrupt you, but our trip when I was getting like all pissy and shit, I had the conversation with like somebody, I don't know. It was more myself, but myself was going, Tiff, what the fuck?
Which
fucking
one
know.
Are you talking about?
When I was on my trip.
Yes.
And I was being all pissy. And I was like, I don't want this to ruin my trip. I'm like, what the fuck? And I had like...
You had that conversation.
I did. And myself was going, Tiff, you know fucking better. What the fuck are you doing? Like, get out of your head. This is not real.
In the train.
This is not real.
It's not real.
And I'm like, oh yeah. Yeah, you're fucking right, man.
This is true. And that's part of that train. You just, it will take off. Like, the stuff that my brain has told me is out to lunch. It really is. And then you...
Lies.
Then you feel not worthy, and then you just start on to the spiral of not good enough and this, and then those old programs keep playing. So the best way to get off, and the best moment, is to stay present and to go, look at my hands, like, look at the sky, look, where are you right now? Like, this doesn't exist. What's in your brain, I can't go back and bring it to the future. Like, trauma, I can't bring it up right now unless I put on the horror movie in my mind and my thoughts just go next level because I just let it go. Or I go, wait a minute, I'm here. Like,
or just give it a redirection, right?
Just, come back to now.
Well, I mean, this is kind of cool because I had to pick up Charlie from school yesterday because she had this random anxiety attack. She never gets them ever, ever, ever.
Yeah.
And we picked her up from school. We, just kind of nurtured her a little bit we weren't like trying to drag information. We did our best to just see what was going on and like where it came from. But we just like kind of nurtured her, spent some time with her, did some things to kind of elevate her mood. And, and I had to drive her to school again this morning. And I said, okay, we don't know what happened yesterday, but if it happens again, this is what you do. And it was all about the breath work. And I'm like, even if it's like just focusing on just your breath, not trying to do anything with it, like it naturally just goes in and out, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, just focus on that because all really is about redirecting her thought. Because what got her to the place of like fucking losing her shit is she fed into her thoughts.
Yes.
Totally fed into them. And then she create this reality that was not real, and then all of a sudden she couldn't be at school. So
that's exactly it.
It was
create a reality that does not even exist.
Exactly. And this is what we teach in our circles when we do our breath work. Remind people when you get into meditation and your mind starts wandering, just go back to your breath work. Yeah. Just kind of redirect your brain because your brain is like trying to distract you from all the things.
And another thing is when you're in your pain body and you're feeling feelings and then your thoughts are taking over, that is also a distraction, and it's an old program that you've done your whole life. Mm-hmm. And your ego wants you to be sucked into that, to stay there because it's like fearful and it's low and it's not this bright, shiny tree that their branches are out to here. It's you just going smaller and smaller and smaller. So then also overcoming that, and it takes little moments, just you being the witness and the person that goes, I'm witnessing this thought, is meaning you're conscious. So when you are unconscious, which I call offline, your thoughts, your feelings, you're depressed, you're low. When you're conscious and you're online, you're here in the present, in the now. So it's really cool to bring yourself back, and all you have to do is be the noticer. So you just say, what thought am I going to think next? Wait for it. Say it to yourself right now. What thought am I going to think next? Oh. Do you see?
Yes.
You got a moment.
Got a moment.
You got a breather.
Yeah, definitely did.
Isn't that dope? Isn't that fantastic? And it's just those little practice. You just practice these things each day for 5. And the more you do it, the more you're going to be in the now. And I'm telling you, it's so fucking peaceful and liberating inside your soul. Like back to, we were talking about 2023 and like everybody's saying they want to have like our goal or to lose weight or to not drink and whatever, and then they fall off the bandwagon. My goal for 2023 and my intention is to be at peace inside of myself. That's it. I have let go of distractions of all the other things, or like trying to be like, oh, I want to obtain this, because obtaining all those things will not give me peace inside. Maybe for a moment, maybe for a week, maybe if I'm like, oh, I want to get this in and call this into my life, and then I get it. But if I don't have peace inside my heart and my soul, it's not going to change a fucking thing. I'm still going to be uptight, uncomfortable, and not feeling good, desiring something else.
I can't help but like wait for you to say the pathway to peace.
Everything is peace. I'm telling you, it is just peace. Peace. So I'm like, oh, does this make me, and then how I stay on that intention daily, which I will say I did a fantastic class, Stevie's soul scription. It was just the morning of New Year's, and it was really to find out what it is we would like to feel for 2023, not what we want. What do you want to feel? So I'm like, one thing, just peace. So then I'm like, well, how am I going to do that? And then it's like, list a couple of things each day, even if it's 5 minutes, just to keep you on track.
I like that.
Yeah, it's easy.
It is easy.
It's letting
going
go
back
of this
to the basics.
That's it.
Going back to the basics.
It sounds like we make these big things like, oh, I'm going to have this like journal and this and like all these things. And then we're like, fuck, this is overwhelming.
Yeah. It's kind of nice just to know that like all the tools that are offered, they're not meant to be all used. They're just kind of like meant to just give you options.
You got it.
And see
which one sticks.
Yeah, what fits for you at that time in the moment.
So I gotta tell a cool story. I was going home and I had Cassius in the car, and out of the freaking corner back of my head, it was like, let's get a tea. So I go to Tim Hortons, and I'm like, man, maybe I won't. And I was like, I'll just go get a large peppermint tea with 1.5 oat milk and 3 honey. So I go to the Tim Hortons drive-thru.
Next time you get anything for Kristen, make sure you get her that.
Yes. Okay. So I don't know if I'm too far away from the mic. Hopefully it's capturing. I'm kind of back. Anyway, so I decide last minute, Cassius freaking loves Tim Hortons because he gets the hockey cards that are $1.
Oh, yeah.
Now all of the stores are done. They have done that promotion. So every time he's like, can we try this one? So we go to this one. All the other ones have been, they're out. He's sold them all. Yes. And literally he's like, Angels, Guides, and Loved Ones, can I please get Connor McDavid or Quinn Hughes number 43 or 97? Like, he does it way in advance, and he like is premeditating his manifestation to have his hockey cards. It's fantastic. And then we open it up and he loses his shit. Anyway, so we're in the drive-thru and I pull up, and I was having not the greatest day, and I'm like, feeling blah. I'm gonna go through the drive-thru and I go to pay, and the lady's like, oh, the car in front of you bought your order. And I was like, oh my God, like, that's so simple. My $2.19 tea.
Yeah.
I was just like, I wasn't going to even go and get tea, but I got this like download to go get tea. It was just kind of a sad day. And it was like, Cassius, they had freaking hockey cards for him that day. Out of every single place is gone. There's hockey cards for him. And literally, why I'm bringing this up is the little things.
Yeah.
The little winks from the universe. Mm-hmm. It changed my entire state. Like, fucking seriously. I was like, thank you to that car. And I did that last month at another Tim Hortons to somebody else.
Oh, did you?
I did.
Oh.
And I just loved it. It felt so good.
I think this whole concept can go both ways. It's like, you never know like how far tipping you are, and then something else bad happens. And it's like a fucking lose it moment, and you're just literally out of control. And it's like, yeah, I can just see it. Like, it just, I know Christmas is kind of like, it's a really touchy time of the year for a lot of people. Yeah. And I've been caught in the moment of witnessing these things. And I'm like, oh, like one year I remember, you always see I don't want to say, I'm going to call them homeless, but here in Vancouver, they are, and in lower mainland and BC, it's not so much homelessness, but rather than mental health illnesses.
Okay.
But when I see a senior citizen dressed in clean clothes and hair combed and standing at Tim Hortons asking people for money, damn right I'm fucking giving it to him. Oh my God. I went to the bank machine. I took out $100. And I went to this old man, and I'm like, I couldn't even say the words.
Wow.
I instantly just got emotional. And all I could think is like, this guy's got to stand out here just to probably get some groceries in his fucking fridge. Because the fact of the matter is, a lot of our seniors are, they're in a weird spot. Like, some of them have funds, a lot of them don't, and they're literally scraping by. Like, I worked at Shoppers, and sometimes they'd buy cat and dog food, like wet dog food, because it's just like all they could afford.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Bud.
Yeah. So when I saw a senior citizen,
that took me off guard.
Yeah.
That's why I'm like, whoa, dude.
For real. I know. So when I seen him, I'm like, he's already had so much life that's been presented. Now he's like kind of at the ends of the years of his life, and what more could he really be? Like, what more could happen? And he's standing there asking for money, and I'm sure it took a lot of pride to set aside to do something like that. Yeah. And yeah, so.
And like, talking about this time and Christmas and it's being a hard time, well, yeah, like, and especially if loved ones have exited, it amplifies the time. And like, every time that I go through, or other people go through, a season of not being with them for the first time, it's another amplification of remembering, because you remember every moment, and this is the first Christmas without them. So it's like, that on top of, you know, whether there's financial constraint or you have ex-spousal issues, like fuck, divorced families and like dealing with Christmas stuff can be challenging to say the least.
I think the divorce rate goes up pretty high during the Christmas time. I think it's like the highest.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, those are stats a while ago.
And
but
just sharing your children over Christmas. There's so many things that can get heavy.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's quite a interesting time. But good for you for that was very.
It was
generous.
very innate. It was very like I didn't even have to think about it. I was just like I don't even care.
What did he say?
I couldn't say much. I was like,
what did he say?
He was just like, fucking holy shit, what just happened? I'm like, go home. Do not stand here
like,
anymore. Like, $100, go.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's just like
amazing. And you know, this is
money in, money out for me. I
know you've always.
I'm not saying like I can afford to hand out $100 to every person I see, but my God, like
your intuition.
Oh, that one fucking pulled on my heartstrings big time.
Yeah, and you know what? It's like when you remove these distractions, and this is part of the book again, and you actually go within and you feel peace inside, you start to eliminate all the things that you thought you needed.
Yeah.
Like I went through the biggest shedding, and especially with leaving the ex relationship and the past. It was like the things that I used to desire were just gone.
Right.
Everything was
what you thought you needed.
Or that I even liked.
Right.
Everything changed.
Yeah.
When you come back to your center. That's what it's knowing thyself. You know, coming back to that. I was going to say something else and I don't know.
Well, we had so many stories, but we got really deep.
You and I always
do this.
This is what we do.
Yeah.
We talk about the shit that people aren't talking about, and I'm okay with sharing my own stuff. So I wanted to share that Tim Hortons one because that was such a beautiful surprise, and those winks from the universe just right when you just need that little bit of magic.
Yeah.
That was the magic for me. I was like, wow.
Yeah.
I was like, thank you. And I'm thinking of like my loved ones, and I'm like just in this other state. Cassius is floored from $1 hockey cards because he's looking for his
He's losing his shit.
Yeah, like that's the little baby things, you know.
So speaking of like, because obviously I don't know, we're always trying to be like uplifting and shit, but holidays was kind of like, you know, we try. I did my best living in the moment. I really did, but there were some interesting things that had gone on, and I'm just wondering, like, I know you kind of had a story that like I'm really looking.
You're really interested in.
Well, I am, because I mean. If my buddy's getting rocked, I want to know what the fuck's going on.
I get it. Are we gonna keep rolling on this one, or should we do?
Yeah, I think we should. Yeah,
we're at like 32 minutes. So.
That's okay. Yeah, let's go.
Okay, so I'm like, how do I even do? Okay, so it was the night before Christmas Eve. Okay. So Christmas Eve, I was getting Cassius from 1 o'clock till 9 o'clock for Christmas Eve. Okay. So because I was only getting him for that short amount of time for Christmas, I'm not having a morning to wake up with him. I'm not having these other things. So I'm thinking of like the best way to allow him to see that Santa has come and to do our Christmas here.
Yeah.
So the day before, like I felt great. I had all my stuff ready to go. I had all the Christmas wrapped and whatever. So I was like, I think I will throw a few foils in my hair and just do a little bit of self-care the night before I'm by myself. He's not with me. So I get him the next day at 1. So then I talked to a friend, and actually that day we went out and did like a bunch of stuff. Like we're trying to go to this yoga class. We're trying to go to the gym, and everything was closed. It was just hilarious. Oh, yeah. Redirection after redirection.
Yeah.
So I end up coming home. I'm doing my hair, talk to my friend. They're like, oh, well, why don't you come over to a friend's house and, you know, we'll get some food, whatever. So I'm like, okay, I'm just going to like do my hair, and I don't know what time I'm going to be done, and don't count me in for dinner because I don't really know. I'm just like being loosey-goosey because I don't want to fully commit. I don't know. So then I talked to them a few more times, and they're like, what's going on? Like, what time are you coming? So then finally, once I was done my hair, I go out to my car, and my car's completely frozen shut. Like, every square inch of my vehicle, I can't even open the door.
I can't believe how much snow we had.
It was
like, that was nuts.
I know.
And it's gone already.
And it was just like, and here you go, and gone. I was like, can we do that to my emotions too? Like, let's let this melt. So I'm like, okay, this might just be a sign. Like, I always listen to this shit normally.
Yeah.
I'm not meant to fucking go anywhere because my car can't move. So
I was going to ask, like, okay.
Yeah. You're like, Kristen.
I know.
Okay.
Whatever.
So then I get on the phone. I'm like, you know what? My car is frozen. I'm not going to be able to go. And then they're like, oh, we'll just come and pick you up. So I was like, okay. I'm like, I guess, yeah. I was like, we'll just do that. And I was thinking like maybe my dad would drop me off or whatever. They're like, no, we'll just come pick you up. I go back to my house. I had to grab, I forgot the food because I was just going to make my own little vegan pizza. Okay. And then I'm on my way back out and I literally just get like, don't go. Like, I just get this feeling of like, don't go. And I was like saying to myself, I'm like, yeah, that's just like hermit me just wanting to stay home. Like, I've got this time.
Oh, I've done that too.
And I was just like,
I've done that too.
So I go. Okay. Time is fine. Good. Awesome. They ended up picking up food. We're having good conversations. And it was already late. Like, it was already later into the evening. Like, I don't know, 9:30, 10 o'clock. Maybe. So then we go and have the food, and my dad was telling us this hilarious comedian. His name's Sebastian something. So I had told them, I was like, hey, we should watch this. It's supposed to be pretty funny. And so we get watching it, and I'm like starting to pass out on the couch. Like, I'm just tired. And so I'm like starting to fall asleep after food and after we had gone out. And they're like losing their mind, laughing their head off, having the best time. And it's like, it's awesome. I love that. Like, I love.
But you're falling asleep.
But I'm falling asleep. So I'm like sitting there. I'm like, fuck, like I've got Christmas tomorrow with my son. I've got like a special occasion. I need to go home. Like, I was just starting to feel like I need to go home. So I'm looking at the time. It's like 1.
Oh, gosh.
And I was like, oh, like I'm here not wanting to. So I worked on this after with Lisa, but I was like, oh, I don't want to ruin their time. Okay. So this is in my mind. I'm like, I don't want to ruin their time having fun. And they had engaged, like had a drink and whatever. They were engaged, and I had not had obviously anything. I don't drink or whatever. So I'm just sitting there. They're laughing, having a good time. And I was like, I'm like, I was saying it's late. Like, I should really get home. I need to get home and blah, blah, blah. And I'm thinking of like, well, how am I going to get home? Like, if nobody can drive me and they're not okay to drive, I'm thinking like, shit, like I really need to get home. So I was like feeling these feelings inside my body. It was very uncomfortable because when you're stranded, and I wasn't too far from home. My parents are sleeping, and I was like, okay, cab, call the cab, an hour.
Oh,
like, dude, an hour. And I'm now like thinking like, I really need to get home. Like, I really want to go home. So I'm feeling very uncomfortable. So I'm thinking of ways that I can get home. Like, oh, maybe can I just take your car and then you guys, because there's like 3 cars all there at their home. Like, can I take one and then we'll figure it out? It wasn't working. I wasn't really getting that assistance really. And it was just like that uncomfortable kind of conversation and feeling. So then I'm like feeling even more feelings. I'm like, oh my God, I just want to go home. Like, can somebody help me? And long story short, it wasn't working out. And one of them had made a comment, and I just said, I said, you'll understand one day when you have kids, because this is really important. And I was just starting to feel a little bit like helpless at that moment because I really want to go home. We're at like 2:20 now.
Ew, God.
And I'm just like really wanting to go home. So, and then somebody had made a comment, and they were like, I'm trying to remember what exactly it was. I don't want to say it wrong. It doesn't really matter, but there's a point to all this. It was like, it was your choice to come. And I was just like, oh my gosh. I was like, yeah, you're right. It was totally my choice to come. No, they said you didn't have to come. That's what they said. Sorry.
Well,
but
that's
like,
kind of a backhanded comment.
That was hurtful.
Yeah,
so it was like,
kind of sorry,
sure. Sorry, that's what it was. I was like, you know, expressing how I really need to get home and whatever. And I said, you'd understand when you have kids, whatever. They don't have kids. And then they said, well, you didn't have to come. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to feel that. I was like, that hurt my feelings. And I was like, it's truth. Hey, I didn't. I absolutely didn't have to come.
Yeah.
So the moral of this whole story, beautiful at the timing, finally the cab calls. It's like an hour and a half later.
Oh, God.
I don't get home till like 3:30 or later. I'm feeling sick inside. My friend's uncomfortable because like they can see the comment and the uncomfortability and like they're feeling a type of way. And I'm like, listen, I'm just going to go home. I don't want to talk about it. I've got my thing the next day. Let's just move forward and I'm going to feel my feelings. That's all I had to do. And this is what I wanted to share this whole thing with everybody is because I could have reacted or been rude. I just said, I need to go. I'm going to go. That's what needs to happen right now. And I went downstairs and waited for the cab. So moral of my story of what I learned from this experience was communicate about your ride home. 100%.
Well, you got to plan your way home.
Plan your way home.
Yeah.
Typically, you know, if somebody picks you up, like if Tiffany or anybody that's in my close-knit circle, if they were to pick me up, they would be bringing me home.
Yeah.
That's just a no-brainer.
Unless if we'd planned.
Unless we said, if you were like, exactly.
Yeah.
But it's like, no-brainer. So good for me to go, hey, I'm not going to blame them. I'm not going to, you know, get upset at them at all. I'm going to take responsibility into this situation, which I did. And I was like, okay, next time, figure out my ride. Next time, communicate. Hey, can somebody make sure to give me a ride home? And also don't go to a place that you don't have your vehicle. Mm-hmm. But what the feelings were so crazy because it was like there was anger, but then sadness and all this stuff that had come up. And then it brought me back down to even worthiness of why would I feel that I'd ruined someone else's time? I'll suffer through me sitting there, not speaking or saying like, I got to go home and whatever, like speaking up more about ruining somebody's time. That's not a good thing to do.
Hell no.
You need
Look how that just blew up in your face.
100%.
Yeah.
So the moral here was just responsibility. I took radical responsibility. I also communicated about all of the things. And then I also worked through it, of course, with Lisa because that's what I do. And then I also realized within all of it, it was like, you know, really knowing who you're hanging out with and like, you know, like not expecting people to take care of me, but there is an aspect of that, of being, you know, that.
Well, you hope so, but usually that's like with the people that you trust. And
exactly.
You know.
Exactly.
I mean, I think about like how I would teach Cohen, my oldest, on the responsibilities that he needs to have in those types of situations. And that's how the conversations typically go. Sometimes I still get a call at like 2 a.m. Can you pick me up?
Yes.
That's fine. He's my kid. But.
And that is responsible in my opinion.
It is.
Call mom and dad.
Of course.
And of course. That's important.
But he could have planned that earlier in the evening instead of waiting till fucking 2 a.m.
Yes.
Right?
And then also I had zero clue that it was that type of an evening. For me, I'm thinking, oh, go there, hang out, have some food, you know, watch a show, go home. But that's part of life. Yeah. It unfolds and it's not their fault or my fault. It just happened that way for a big lesson for me.
Yeah.
Huge lesson.
You got to take responsibility for literally every aspect of
everything.
Your life.
And even just planning ahead in the sense of like, hey, think ahead. Like, you got to get home, bud.
Yeah. Just because you drink doesn't mean not everybody else does.
You mean because I don't
Or
drink.
you mean, sorry, I meant to say that other way.
Other way around, yeah.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to like, it was just massive for me to sit there through that, just wanting to go home. Like that instilled such an old feeling from feeling like you're out of control.
Yeah. Oh gosh.
Stranded, out of control.
Well, we can get really caught up in the things that we don't think we have control over and forget about the things that we do have control over. Yeah. And that's what I was telling Charlie, like when she goes back to school, I'm like, think of the things that you have control over, and that's the way you think, the way you move.
I was like, I can walk. Like I'm not fucking walking in
not
the
in that snow. Holy shit.
And the way that the universe like always is co-conspiring with you and like giving you heads up. It was like my car was frozen. It was like,
So
bud,
many
just stay
things.
home. And I was like, damn. And that was my response, was just, I absolutely should have just stayed home.
Yeah.
I should have.
Yeah.
But live and learn. I learned a big ass lesson, and it was an uncomfortable one. And until you're in that situation, that's the only time that you can feel what I was feeling. It's like when you're there.
Right.
Especially when you're just thinking of like your bed and waking up early to have a special day with your family.
Oh gosh. Around the holidays, it's really like, again, you kind of really have to nurture it as much as possible. As much as you want to celebrate, you still have to do a lot of nurturing, because Christmas involves everybody, not just you. Yeah. Right? Like, you're not the only one. Yeah.
I did a lot of that. I was seeing even a lot of signs of like, I was like, oh, even with clients, they're just doing their own thing. And it's like, okay, this is an opportunity for me to rest, retreat.
Absolutely.
And be held.
Yes.
That was the card that I got.
Ooh.
Rest, retreat, and be held.
Interesting.
Yeah. So that was my moral of the story. I have communicated with my friends and I've worked through it, and it's not hard feelings. It's just truth.
Yeah.
Fucking truth.
Fucking truth sucks sometimes.
Yep.
Fucking sucks.
Yeah. It's just lay it on the line and work through the uncomfortableness. It's
funny because why I want to tell you this story has zero to do with anything out of your control.
Oh.
It was just an experience my family went through.
Well, let's hear it.
Well, we went to Tulameen for New Year's.
Okay.
And there was only one house that was like Airbnb, so we stayed there. And the energy in this house was really different. It was different. I don't know. I kept just going, go away. Like, this is my space. You're not needed. Like, so more in like doing a lot of observing. And I think it was like the second night. Dave and Charlie were hearing things.
Like what?
Well, Dave decided to sleep with Charlie because she was so scared that night. I bet.
Were you not scared?
I didn't hear anything.
Okay.
I don't see things. I don't fucking hear things. I always want to.
I think you feel.
I feel things.
Okay, you're the feeler.
Yeah, I don't see things. But it like my eyes will play tricks on me. I know they do. And like sometimes I'm like, whoa. So double take. Like, what was that?
I think that's something.
No. Every time I think it is, it's like a fucking coat on a thing.
Oh, you see what it is. Okay,
yeah, I see what it is, right? But this is really fucking bizarre. They were here. They heard me come out of my room, open my door, shut my door, walk down the hallway, into the bathroom, shut the door of the bathroom, and never came out. That's what they thought. I never went to the bathroom. I never got up that night. Not once. And so they were like, really, that really fucked them up.
Especially Dave. Oh my gosh.
Well, Dave has seen things.
Yeah.
And she'll freak herself out. So I'm not sure if Charlie's ever seen anything or whatever. My family has, like, I don't know. Me and Leah haven't, but Lindsay certainly has. My mom has. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the next night, they heard... they heard, like, someone, like, dragging, like, almost like a chain down the hallway.
Dude.
And Dave I'm laying there just about to fall asleep, and he's like, whoa, did you hear that? I'm like, no, bro, I didn't hear anything. He's like, Tiff, this is really fucked up. He's like, I'm hearing shit. I'm like, I ain't hearing anything, bro. Like, this is a you problem.
You need to do some fucking energy work.
Well, I saged that house after, like, the third night. Like, I don't know. We just got caught up in, like, things, and I saged it, and I just kind of, like, did my thing, and then we had no issues after that. But
dude,
I just thought it was really interesting how, like, this is maybe going in perspective, and I've heard a lot of, like, stories of people passing and coming back and the way that they saw the light and, you know, what's on the other side, and, you know, they really go into deep detail on what they've seen. And what has been discovered is what people are perceive things to be is what they will
see,
create a reality out of.
Yeah.
But because I didn't hear it, it was nothing to me. But I'm not going to lie. I did feel like the energy of the house was really odd. We did find out that the house was on a graveyard, an old Indian graveyard.
I was going to say, is it ancestral lands too?
Yeah, it was.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, super like, wow.
That's cool.
I know.
But scary.
For them, it was really scary because it's like...
Even at our old circle, bud. Like, you were totally fine with being at... What's it called?
The hall.
What was it called? Ruskin Hall.
Ruskin Hall.
Yeah, here's Tiffany just like this. I'm like literally you guys doing energy work on other people and I'm like, I can like feel and sense and it's like blood and like all this stuff. I'm like, Tiffany, I don't really feel like that great. And you're like, obviously you're supportive of whatever, but I was like, oh, I'll work through it or maybe we'll do some sort of ceremony to assist with them to like ascend.
Yeah.
Because you guys, there's earth spirits that just hang around. Like there is people that have just not accepted.
I think we've seen enough
reality.
Shit to like, I mean, you could be as like, you know, you can see it as truth or not. Like it's up to you. I don't know. I haven't personally seen anything, but just because I haven't seen anything doesn't mean that I don't have this conscious belief that there's something more.
100%.
Right?
There's
but,
time.
you know, I've read enough and... You know, like the enough research that I've done, it's like, how could I deny it? How could I, because I'm not seeing things.
No, you can't.
Yeah, right? Like, what's the truth? The truth is your truth. So what does it matter? But I think we have enough information out there to show that the energy can change in certain areas and, you know, you're coming into like the why and there's a lot of lost souls out there that just...
They're not letting go.
They're not letting go. And it's really convoluted because when we talk about souls and like spirits, there are different pathways for those souls and spirits. So they're different. They have different roles to play. Mm-hmm. So the ones that are just hanging around, you know, it's scary because you're kind of going, fuck, you don't normally see or hear that shit.
Mm-hmm. They want to be seen and heard and
That's
acknowledged.
Right.
They want to feel like they're human again.
Well, I guess so, because as soon as I had that conversation, that I know you skeptics. I know you're laughing.
They're not going to be here to watch our show.
Not all the way to the end, but after having those intentions of like releasing and like, no, you're not going to have power over this space because the space that I'm in. Mm-hmm.
And it's free will.
Yeah, it is free will in the end of it.
Cross free will.
No.
And you know what? What were we gonna say?
Well, I was just gonna say like they're not gonna hurt. They're not gonna hurt you.
No, because you have to just stand in your ground and use your discernment and be like, hey.
And here we are standing in a fear-based body, which is totally the opposite of where you want to be. Because like, what do you do when you get an animal that approaches you that's more of a predator? Mm-hmm. You stand tall and you roar as loud as they do. Yeah. But when you show the fear, that actually opens that portal and like makes you way more vulnerable to anything more even happening.
Exactly. And that's why like we had Stevie on here. Stevie explained she was an completely blown open, and she would see things that she would never want to see because they'd come in any form because she didn't know discernment or boundaries. So they'd come in the form that they would look like when they died. How about show me in your purest light form? Because I don't want to see that.
Yeah.
So then she worked through from, she had to know, she knew
scary.
nothing. Yeah, it is. And that's why, you know, there's all these different levels of human beings and people with different gifts is to help us all through when you start to open yourself up spiritually.
Okay, so here's another one.
Okay.
We all have the ability to have telepathic senses, okay? You and I have it. Chris and I, we do this all the time. We think and finish each other's sentences. Like, it's fucked. I had the same thing with my dad.
Yeah.
And I just told you this story, but I'm going to tell everybody here.
Yeah.
We're in Tulameen in this fucking house. Dave and I are laying in bed, and I'm asleep. He's not asleep yet. And he's thinking...
I was rocking him probably. I'm sorry. I am sorry. But I could just.
This isn't his first rodeo. He's had other like sightings, and it's like fucked him up. He's like, what the fuck? Because he's more of like, he's a bit of a skeptic.
This is why it's happening.
Yeah, I know.
I love it. Dang.
So he's laying in bed. I'm sleeping. He thinks a thought, and I think he was like thinking about like molesting me or something. Maybe I shouldn't use that word. No, I'm just using it as a word, is like husband and wife kind of thing. And he was thinking how he was going to start, fooling around, and he didn't say anything out loud.
He's thinking things.
He was thinking it, and in my sleep, I answered him. He was so like rocked over that, like he woke me up. Tiff, do you know what just happened? Telepathy. I was like, really, Dave?
You're like, you're fucking making me up right now to be like this? Write it down and tell me to. Oh my god, this is great.
It's so funny, but if you ever have had that, or you want to have it, I don't think there's a fucking difference. You don't feel any different. You don't notice anything. You just kind of wide-eyed look at somebody going, holy fuck, you just finished what I was thinking. You finished saying what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Like, we do it all the time.
So powerful.
Right? So, I mean, the same thing you said at our circle the meditation that I did yesterday.
Yeah. It was so cool, you guys.
She's like, Tiff, grab
No, but I'm not saying it out loud. I'm saying it
in your head. And then right at that moment, I grabbed the sage. And it was just kind of like, I didn't do it right in the beginning, as I typically would. I just kind of was called to do it like before everything kind of rolled out with the meditation. But it was just kind of funny. That's just one example out of 100. I'm telling you.
And because instead of me, and this is the part of me where I'm like, no, Tiffany's got her own shit covered. She's doing her class. It's perfect. And then I'm just laying there, just like surrendering, staying present to it. And I was like, well, I could just send it anyway. So I'm like, I'll just send it.
Send it.
And I did.
Yeah.
I sent it.
It's so
funny. And even if you already knew it, it doesn't matter. Just try it, peeps.
Oh my gosh.
Send some information to people.
You never know.
Why not?
Hey.
You want to send a little love note to Leonardo DiCaprio? Go ahead. Or to...
Doing it right now.
What's that guy's name? Come on. He's doing those super cool episodes where he's traveling around the world to see how people are living. Zac Efron.
Zac Efron.
Yeah, he's super cool. Like, so unique.
Come on.
He's cool. Like,
he's cool, eh? Yeah. He's hot. You can say it.
I know.
He's attractive.
Yes, he is. But that wasn't, like, what is more attractive to me is the fact that he's helping humanity, and like what he's doing is going around to bring awareness to the sustainable living and like healthy living, and how we can do things a different way. Yeah. And use a lot of science to do it.
And I love how
very, very
simple
small resources.
That they are. Yeah. The very simple living is what they're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very cool.
Very cool.
This episode is
almost an hour. Perfect.
We were supposed to be doing shorts, but it's just short. It's a schlong. I think it looks a little blurry. Yeah, so thanks for tuning in. You got to sit in on a conversation with Tiffany and I that we tried a little differently. It's actually a little bit, we go a little bit deeper when we're just like not looking at
I know. It's not a bad thing. Not a bad thing.
No, it's all good.
I
like it.
Let us know what you think, and we'd love to hear your feedback.
Like, comment.
Subscribe, share that shit.
We got circles every month.
Yeah.
We always attach the circle link underneath the YouTube video here or in our Spotify. You can just see it. It just takes you right to it. And
and then I will put what are we gonna do? We're gonna
do a card pull.
We're gonna do a card pull. Yeah.
We did a card pull at the beginning and the end. And this rose, for some reason, this deck that Tiffany gave to me yesterday was like called to do it. So I'm like, you know what? Let's do it. So what is the message for the collective for this beautiful episode, for whoever's watching it and whenever you're watching it?
It fell already. Whoa. Yeah, how many are you going to do?
No, I like to give a full shuffle to see what
all right.
There's many people, so there's many messages that need to be transpired.
That's very true.
Okay. Woo. Okay, funny enough, this is hilarious because I pulled Sacred Union last night, and the Sacred Union, beloved within, inner and outer relationships, and this card all mirrors back to yourself, and the relationship you have with yourself is all to a reflection of everybody else in your outer world. So really working on that piece, what me and Tiffany were really talking about is that external distraction is a distraction from your internal peace. Work on your internal peace. And really about relationships and being really mindful about who you're sharing energy with and who you're... Sometimes you'll come into, we're in retrograde right now too. So old relationships and exes will come up and they will shine light on, old things and old triggers. And it's really an opportunity to just keep dropping the cord. Don't attach. Don't go back to that same cycle. This is an opportunity to clear, cleanse, fresh, renew, and really have your boundaries quite strong.
Focusing on you, which is great for the new year anyway.
Exactly. It's all a mirror and a balance. And then it's so that's Sacred Union. This is the Rebecca Campbell Rose Oracle. And then this one is so beautiful. Is held.
Aww.
Sureness of the soil, unseen help, support, and community. And what we always lean into is the community, the circles, the help, doing it together, and the subtle realms. Like you think you're alone, realms. You think you're alone in this universe, and like when you're at your lowest, you've got your team, your spirit team's with you. You're always supported and held, and that's why this card is saying unseen help, because there is always help. It's always around.
There's more love for us than we ever give credit for.
That's so true.
And when we're at a low or we're feeling unsupported, that can definitely probably pop in your mind that you just don't have anybody in that bit of loneliness. But honest to God, that's not true. And hopefully you can let that feeling come and go like a movie film, because it's just not true. We have so much to honor for our ancestors, and they're going to be hanging around until we pass through. So
that's right.
That's just the way it goes. We kind of go through this realm of life together. And what?
Something that prompted me, because I asked Stevie that question. I said, how does it work? So when a loved one passes, because there's no such thing as like time, it's all like linear and everything's happening at once, past, future, present, and then their past loved ones when they're ascending and learning their lessons on the other side. But I said, how does it work for them when we're here? So how long do they wait? For how many people in their line until they kind of ascend, even though they're ascending, but until they move on or maybe come back and do another life? And she was sharing that it's usually until the last person that they had an actual physical connection with passes over.
Oh.
So if so we'll use Mott for example, because he's passed recently. If I were to have another child, he hasn't physically met them on this realm, even though spiritually he has.
Yeah.
He won't wait for them to pass.
Oh,
He'll wait for our entire family to pass.
Oh,
typically.
I see.
There are certain situations, like we talked about, when something came through for you about you being a 3-year-old and fast tracking in, like expediting it quickly.
Yeah.
So there's situations like that, of course, but I thought that was a cool prompt
that is
about our ancestors to know. Just a cool
because it's very interesting. That's our cue to go.
That's our cue to cut this out. And oh my God, it was just 3 for 1. Anyways,
okay.
Love you guys. We're cutting it out. But that was like,
and it's time.
But it's like, how much more truth could that have been? Wow.